All right, Big Bang. Today is Thursday. It is February 8th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. In studio guest, I'm joined by Connor Mook.
Yes, sir.
Mookenberg. Is that
Jewish.
that's the correct one?
Yes, yeah.
My apologies. What actually is it?
Just Mook.
No, really?
Yeah.
No shit.
It is a stage name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the accounting thing. I had to hide the internet persona for a while, so came up with Mook.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
That's what we're talking about today. So, randomly, we were just chopping it up outside there in our like little, I don't know, waiting area, holding area.
Yeah. Our bullpen,
Yeah,
I guess.
Yes. And we were kind of talking about like previous lives, and I had no idea that you were an accountant for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
So
Hardo accountant, too, dude.
Yeah, like you're like, I'm like, so you just know your way around numbers, huh? You're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can fuck up a spreadsheet. I'm not going to be like the guy that's like dishing out mental math, but you give me an Excel sheet with numbers and I'll make them work.
You'll dominate the spreadsheet.
Yes. Fuck up the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's rare here. It's pretty young now where a lot of people, this is their first jobs or they've been in media for a while.
Yeah.
And you're like straight out of the accounting world.
Yeah, the first job thing is wild to me because people don't know what it's like on the other side.
Yes.
And it's like, dude, it sucks. Like we are lucky to be here.
Yeah, like there are great jobs, sure. I bet, but definitely lucky to be here, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to college?
All right, so I took notes. I got a timeline of notes here.
Let's fucking go. I like that. We got a prepared guest.
Yes. I wrote this down 5 minutes ago.
Oh, great.
You know,
that's still preparation.
I went to my freshman year. I was 17 going into college. I went to Penn State Altoona for a year. I got into like good schools. I had like a scholarship to Temple, like Indiana out of state, like all these good places. But I was like, I want to be a Penn State bro. And I didn't get in the main campus, so I went to Altoona.
There's a big how different is Altoona versus...
Altoona is in the middle of like legitimate meth country.
I don't know shit.
And it's like a student population of like 2,000. You're living on like a mountain. You're 45 minutes away from main campus. That's the attraction, is that you go up on main campus on the weekends.
No shit.
So my first year, I got suspended from Penn State for getting 3 underages.
Oh, damn.
Like, got 2 in the first 2 weeks of school. I was like selling weed, like taking Xanax, like I was fucking around hard.
Yeah.
And I got my 3rd underage like 2 weeks before school let out, so I couldn't go back. And that was like peak, like I'm being a fuckboy kind of like me.
Yeah.
So I got kicked on my ass, and then I went to Temple.
Okay.
And that's where I got my shit together. I was like, I can't be a fuck up kind of thing, even though I was still fucking around a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into accounting.
Just weren't getting caught.
Yes, like I knew I had to get my shit together, so I kind of, I didn't go out as much. I was still like smoking and drinking and stuff, but it was everything, all of my focus was on school at that point.
Okay.
And
you grew up in Philly, right?
Grew up in Philly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what, Delco guy?
Northeast.
Yeah,
so there's a distinction between those two groups.
Okay, what's the big distinction?
The accents.
Okay.
Delco is a little more distinctive and dirty, I would say. Northeast Philly is a little more rough. I don't like have it, but like my parents both grew up in Northeast Philly, and that's like a point of pride for them. Like Irish neighborhoods, like Ronhurst, and my mom grew up in a dirty one. I forget what it's called, but right outside of Philly, the city, and then we moved to the suburbs when I was in high school.
Okay. And is Penn State like the number one spot to go for a Philly kid?
Yeah, Penn State, Temple, Drexel.
Okay.
All those places. Yeah.
Okay, so those are the big ones.
Yeah.
All right, so then you're fucking around at Altoona. At Altoona, they got like a pizza style that's really weird.
Yeah, it's like Altoona pizza. They melt the cheese like a Kraft single.
Dude, I saw that. I think Dante posted it one time.
It's gross.
Is it gross? Yeah, it looks gross.
The whole city's gross, but that's like just part of it.
That's just a pillar of why it's gross.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude, if you're out there listening, Google this pizza. It's bizarre looking.
Yeah. And I was eating it.
Yeah?
I was eating that. I didn't have a meal plan, and I was stuck on a mountain without a car.
You had drinking tickets to pay for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Slamming Kraft single pizza. Yeah. Why not?
Dude, there's nothing like being trapped in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and your dad has to drive like 4 hours up for like 3 court dates in a year. It was
tough.
Just very depressing.
What was the ticket then?
The first one I was 17, so they had to call my parents right away. I got like just a citation for underage drinking. Second one, same thing, except I had one beer and our party got raided. So it was just like bad luck. Like the first one I blew like a .22. Second one I blew like a .02.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah. So it was just like I shouldn't have been there. You know what I mean? I should have been like at Temple or like closer to home.
Yeah.
I was like really fucking around.
I mean, dude, it's a culture shock for a lot of kids. You get there and you're like, I don't have to listen to anyone.
Yeah.
I could do whatever the fuck I want.
I had an apartment.
Yeah.
Because they don't like, you don't have to go.
Oh, so you wouldn't even do dorms?
I didn't even do dorms.
That's reckless out of Penn State, Altoona.
Yeah,
Put
dude.
those fucking kids in a dorm.
Oh, yeah.
Where some nerd senior is going to be watching over them, being like, if you drink, you're going to die.
Exactly.
That's what you kind
like
of
the
need those
first
guys.
week, syllabus week, like our neighbors took us out to get alcohol. We bought like 10 handles of Vlad, which are like $10
A plastic bottle
vodka handles.
yeah.
And like, it was just no rules. And I just lost it.
That was it.
I was going crazy. Yeah.
Were you accounting there too?
No, I was like undecided business.
Okay. All right. So then what? You just like all of a sudden are like, I kind of like numbers with a Temple.
Basically, I went to Temple. I had to knock out like major courses because it was like getting to like, you know, I'm like a sophomore now. Like I need to like, you know, figure something out. I got an A in accounting and I was like, I'll do this.
That's it.
Yeah.
No questions
I
asked.
wasn't even like very good at it. I just figured, hey, this is easy.
Yeah.
Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah. Anything to just get your diploma and get out kind of thing. Find a real job.
Yeah.
So how old are you now?
27.
You're 27 now. So, all right. So you're like sophomore. You're like.
I tell everyone I'm like 23, 35. I keep it going. I'll be honest with you. But
yeah,
20,
I appreciate that. All right,
27.
so 27 is a real number.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate it. So there you're like a freshman, sophomore. You're like, whatever, 19.
Yeah. Temple, I'm like 19. I'm living like on campus with random roommates. Problem.
Why? Just because they were the problem?
Just absolute like all my friends that were at Temple already had like houses situated and all that stuff because I joined late.
Yeah.
So like I get to Temple, I'm like 18, 19, whatever I am. And I wanted to live on campus at like this new like high rise apartment to like, my parents were like, you're not fucking around. Like you're living on campus, whatever. I'm roomed with 2 engineering majors that play video games for 12 hours a day in our living room and a 32-year-old Asian man with a drug problem that's just coming back to school that didn't brush his teeth, that never situated his room, and that smelled so disgusting you couldn't go near his room. And he smoked cigs in the apartment. It was just like the oddest, like, you know, I was having so much fun at college and now I'm back and I'm like, I can't even be in my own apartment unless the door is shut in my own room. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You were like a solitary confinement.
Exactly.
You leave the shower, you maybe cook up some spaghetti.
Yeah, I get
it.
10 minutes to make fucking meatballs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you roll out. So were you doing comedy in college?
No. I've always wanted to write. I remember picking my major, like applying to schools and being like, I want to go for like journalism. And my dad being like, you can do that on the side. Like it's probably smart just to go business and get a job. So like on the side, you know, I'm like tweeting. And then that's where like Mook comes from is I was writing gambling articles for TotalFratMove.com.
No shit.
Under the alias Mookie Betts with 1 T.
You wrote for TFM?
I wrote for TFM.
Wow. And you were in college what years again? Say this again.
Like 2017. I was a freshman at Altoona in like 2016. Probably got to Temple 2017. Was writing 2017, 2018. I remember the Eagles won the Super Bowl that year. And I made so much money.
At TFM?
Just from gambling and TFM. Yeah, I got like really hot. I gained like a little bit of a following, a slight traction. But there were times where like I was trying to go viral on Twitter. And I pepper sprayed myself in the face.
Oh, wow.
For 7 retweets one time. And that was when I was like, all right, I got to stop doing this.
I got to figure this out. Because I was going to say that I asked the dates there specifically because when I was in college from 09 to 13.
They were the biggest thing ever.
TFM was huge.
I was part of their downfall. It was like genuinely just a bad writer.
But they pivoted, right? Like they turned into like a weird. They got rid of like a lot of their original guys.
Yes, and those guys are great. Like Ross, Dylan.
Yes,
all those dudes are awesome.
And they work at what's their company now?
Washed Media.
Yes, that's right. They're with Brett Merriman. Yes.
So I was at the complete decline where like they were just about to be let go, and like nobody really cared about the blog before they transitioned to like short form video. What they're doing now. So I think someone bought them, cleaned house, and now they're just doing like TikTok and.
Damn,
dude, Instagram stuff.
They were. I mean, I was always a Barstool guy, but I was few and far between during my college days, which is crazy to think. It was like it came stronger every year, but TFM, everyone knew what that was.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was. Yeah. They were big.
And I remember like I found Barstool during this time at Temple because I was like, I was doing a ton of work to like get good at school and get my shit together. So I would like that's when I found Part of My Take, and that would be like my background. Accounting work stuff. And I wanted to work for Barstool. Obviously, I had no following, no way to get there. So I applied for TFM, submitted like a sample article. They hired me like right away.
And what were they paying you by article?
Like 15 per article.
Yeah.
I would end up like, I would write like 2 or 3 a week, and it would be like, I'd get $60 every 2 weeks. Like gambling, gambling and beer.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of walking around money, as the older folk would say.
Exactly, yeah.
Damn, a lot of people worked there too. I think Caroline and so did Grace, right?
Yeah, they were later than me.
Yeah.
I was like strictly like writing blogs.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Grace was doing like more drinking content and like traveling and stuff.
Okay. You know what, dude? I don't know how you felt about your dad's advice at the time, but I would say that was pretty fucking good advice because I did
great advice,
communications.
Yeah.
And coming out of college was just a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Like there's just not many places to go for this.
Yeah. Like you're not just gonna, how many kids get a communications degree and they're like, oh, I'll just work for ESPN after college or like wherever, you know what I mean? It's not easy like that. Especially today, you kind of have to like come in with a following.
Yeah.
For anywhere like that.
Or you could do behind the scenes stuff too, which is fine, but it's a grind, man.
Yeah.
And the nights and the week, like people just don't, like, you get in, you're 18, you don't really know what you're signing up for.
No clue.
Yeah. You just don't really know like what you really want in life either.
Oh yeah, you have to pick your major when you're like 16, 17.
It's kind of bananas.
Like that's insane.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So that was very sound advice. Just do it on the side.
Yeah, my dad's a smart guy. He's been a corporate guy for years. And I remember like, I was an editor of like my high school newspaper and like I've written, a bunch of stuff, and he was just like, if you really love it, like you'll find it and like find time for it. Yeah. Which was great advice.
Yeah, no, that is. And like my dad gave me the same thing. He's like, hey, it's gonna be really hard. He's like, obviously do what you want to do, but it was in hindsight, I definitely wish I would have been like, yo, dude, just do it on the side like you did. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, you graduate how old and then you get a job right away?
Yeah, so like part of the accounting thing at Temple, like I got super involved, and this like kind of plays into it. It's like I became a TA, I became a tutor in the accounting department, and I became like involved in their student professional orgs. So like the way accounting works is you do all that like extracurricular stuff so that by the time you graduate, you've already signed a contract with one of these big firms.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I was, I did a year of, Temple, and then that next fall, my junior year, I was basically being recruited by these firms. So like, they take you out to dinner, they have you do like externships where they fly you out. Like I went to Chicago for a firm here called BDO.
Oh yeah.
I went to Disney World with PwC. I went to like Tampa with Grant Thornton. So like all these firms are kind of picking from a pool of like the kids from around the country that are doing all these extracurriculars. So like I was like heavily involved. My schedule was full with accounting work and then TA work and tutor work. So by the time, the spring semester of my junior year comes around, I've already signed a full-time contract with Price Waterhouse. Mm-hmm. And I interned the following winter, so I took a semester off. And these externships are fun. An externship is basically like a field trip, right? They fly you out to like, Disney World. The one externship I went to in Fort Lauderdale or Tampa, I forget where it was, with Grant Thornton. I had already signed with PwC, but I went because it was like a free trip to Florida. I was also 20 at the time. So like all my friends are drinking. I have a fake ID. I'm drinking. And like I'm at this point, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I already have a job, like whatever. At the end of the weekend, you're supposed to like submit a presentation. And that's like you have to show up, like you and like 3 other random people from random schools have to like put together a group project. I just slept through my group project. just said fuck it. Like I don't want to work for this company, whatever. And it was just like a free trip to Florida where I underage drank on this random company's dime.
How many people do that, do you think?
Not many.
Just Mook?
I might have been the only one
just Mook
to ever do that. Like, so there's like horror stories of people, they get too drunk because a lot of these accounting kids like never drank before. Yeah. But they did it on accident. I did it more on purpose.
Yeah. Obviously, you were just like, hey, I'm locked up. I'm ready to go.
I'm already good. Yeah. But yeah, so out of school, I started working at PwC in their audit department.
I did not realize that these companies are recruiting you guys like that.
It's crazy. And people,
wild.
The joke where it's like people announcing their internships on LinkedIn, like they just got drafted.
Yeah.
Like Deloitte kids, like that's what it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There's like a big 4 accounting. It's like Deloitte, EY, KPMG, PwC. And the nerds that act like they just got drafted number 1 overall after signing with Deloitte are insufferable. Insufferable.
I bet, dude. And that's what KFC, he worked for Deloitte, right?
He was Deloitte.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other people. I think Ryan was at one of them, right?
Really?
Yeah, Chief was an accountant, right?
No. I forget what he was, but I don't think he was an accountant.
Okay.
Yeah. So what was the one you went to again?
PwC.
PwC, so that's a big 4.
Yes.
All right, so you're there, and like, are you instantly like, fuck? Or are you kind of like, this is pretty good. I got money. I'm doing it.
What happened was, at the end of all the recruiting and all the, core classes you have to take for accounting, I was just like burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, I hate accounting already. But there's part of you that's like, this might be fun because, they take such good care of you in the recruiting process. They put us up in a Ritz-Carlton. They flew us out to Disney World, shut down the park just for us. Like they did all this like crazy stuff during the recruiting. But then you get there and like a month in, you're like, oh, there's people in here that are actively dying because they're working so much. There's people in here that are getting obese because they work 90 hours a week and have 0 time to take care of themselves. There's people, I've been in audit rooms with girls that are crying. Like, it's like you get there and you're like, holy shit, this is hell.
So it's kind of like, to use a frat term, it's kind of like Rush Week versus like Pledge Ship.
Exactly.
Like, you're like back into the shit.
That's perfect actually. Yeah.
Wow. So people are like, it's like immediately a House of Horrors.
Yeah. For me, it was really quick. I started with like, how they do it is they do new hire classes, right? So like I'm with 50 people and 15 of those people are going into my specific group. And I got put on a client right away that was deemed busy. So within my first, like after 2 weeks of orientation, I started working late automatically. Had no clue what I was doing, but I was at the office from 8:30 a.m. until 8 p.m. or 8:30 until 9 p.m. So I got smoked right away. Some other people got smoked later.
Okay.
It just depends what client you got.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you're just auditing, so you're just going through all their books. You're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yes. I worked in private equity, hedge funds, and mutual funds. So I would like, I'm auditing BlackRock and Vanguard and all these like random, fund companies that you wouldn't even imagine, but they have billions of dollars. And then you have me who's like tweeting out bullshit like I love Penn State tonight -5. Yeah. And then being like, oh yeah, that's a level 2 investment, sure. Like I don't I don't care. Like
no worries.
Yeah.
And is it like people are that miserable there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I love the people. There's really good people in accounting. I love all my PwC people.
Yeah.
But the job just sucks the soul out of you eventually. Like, you see the turnover rate is insane in public accounting. It's like I started, and within a year and a half, the 15 people in my group whittled down to 5 people. And like by the time you make senior, you might only have 2 people left in your group. That's why every year they're bringing in 50 new here, 50 new here. Like every year they have to refresh their crop of like associates.
Yeah, it's just a Shark Tank. They bring you in more than they know that are going to stay because it's going to whittle down.
Yes. And it's a great job because once you work there, you can go work like at a lot of other places. But if you stay the course there, you just get worked to death.
But who would do that then? Just people who maybe don't.
It's
have
a good
different
career
option?
if you want to like make partner or make senior manager.
Yeah.
They do pay well.
Yeah. What would be like a senior manager or a partner?
Partner is making like $250,000 at least, maybe $500,000, but you get sharing profits.
Okay.
But that's like a 20-year game. That's a 15, 20-year game.
And are they still working as hard when they get there? Okay.
No. Their job mainly consists of like golfing with clients.
Gotcha.
And then like signing off on audit reports at the end of the audit. But like I was doing all the grunt work.
Okay. And then at what point is this like, all right, I need to lean into this comedy more?
Yeah. I mean, there's no point because even in comedy, like, especially at that point, like I had nothing to like fall back on. I was just like, I hate my life. Like there has to be more to life than just this, auditing 90 hours per week. Because when it got like really bad, for about 6 months, I was in busy season, which is like 8:30 to at least 7. The bad nights were 10 p.m., midnight. The week or two before like the audit ends, like legitimately being on my laptop from 8 to midnight and working Saturdays and Sundays. So like it beat the hell out of me. And after a year, the first busy season is fine, the first year, because you're like, you're not expected to do too much as a first year. The second year is where you see people leave the job that you just spent, hours with in the trenches. You see people like get burnt out and leave and be like, fuck this place. And then you have to step up and kind of fill that role. And I was like, I had to step up my second year and like, take a bigger role because we had new associates on the team and stuff like that. And that's when I was like, fuck this, I need to get out of here. Because at that point I had started doing open mics in Philly. And, I still suck. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, oh, I need to do this full time, but I was like, I would like to do a job where, I don't have to leave my desk at 9 p.m., go out and do an open mic, and then log back on at 11. So about a year to a year and a half in, that's when I started, I need to leave. A year and a half in, I started looking for other jobs. So
you were just going to switch fields to like what?
I wanted to go, so that's public accounting. I wanted to go into industry. I wanted to work for a company.
Okay. Which is a lot less strenuous.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
I wanted a true 9 to 5. And I found it.
Okay.
I started working at GoPuff.
Oh, wow.
In their accounting department.
Okay.
Which, shout out to GoPuff, laid me off 7 months later.
Oh, shit.
In a Zoom call with 1,000 other people.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I wasn't a good employee at all.
No.
I was like hardcore, not doing shit, slacking off. It was work from home strictly. I was fucking around, getting drunk on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at Mike's in the city, and then logging on to work, moving my mouse around for a couple hours and just writing jokes or tweeting or making TikToks. And then I got laid off from GoPuff. And that is when I got laid off and I had like 6 weeks of severance. And that's when I taught myself how to edit. So taught myself video editing, started sending in clips to Owen, shout out Owen Reuter, Owen Sass, And the only reason I sent him to Owen was because Owen found me in my TFM days.
Okay.
He was riding my gambling picks.
Oh, really?
At one point, I made him and his roommate like $1,000 their like fall semester, like his sophomore year or something. I forget. So I taught myself how to video edit. At that point, I'm like 9 months into stand-up, and Owen told me to come out to New York. He was producing stand-up shows for Sas. That's where I met Sas. And then I was still submitting clips, and basically at the end of my unemployment, I got a part-time offer from Barstool to make clips for Boy Dad and Anus. But then, that wasn't going to be enough to like support me. So I found another consulting job, and this is where shit gets like a little hectic.
Because you can't keep up with both?
Yeah, because at this point I'm doing, I'm new at a consulting gig. I'm doing stand-up. I'm doing part-time clips. So I need and part-time clips means like I'm working around the clock because I want to get it full-time.
Yeah.
And I'm also touring with Sas. So on the weekends I'm going to like Boston and different places. And I'm also trying to get up to New York as much as possible to be in the studio with Nick and KB. So this is where like I'm starting a new job, but at the same time I'm very close to like where I want to be in the media space. Mm-hmm. So I'm at this new job for 4 months, for a month, 4 weeks. During that 4 weeks, I took 8 days of PTO. I skipped orientation. And all of this is because I was like taking a train from Philly to New York to record Anus. I was going to Arizona on Thursday through Saturday to do stand-up with Sas. Like I was doing all this like other shit. Meanwhile, going up to New York and like saying on the podcast, like, hey, I'm like really fucking around at this job. Like being vocal about it on the podcast. Like I would love to be here full time. But I told my boss at work, this was the kicker for me, and that got me fucked. But I told my boss at work that I had a monkeypox scare one day so that I could get out of going to the office so that I could go to New York to record Anus. And a week later, I got full-time at Barstool, freelance, and they mentioned on the podcast that they would quit for me. They would call my boss and quit for me on the podcast. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm down. Like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And before we got to record that podcast, the day before, I had 8 missed calls from my manager at work. 8 from my boss. A couple texts like, call me immediately. And I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is where I was like, oh, it sounded much cooler to quit and like kind of tell my boss off.
Yeah.
But actually doing it is like, this is a real guy.
Yeah,
I feel bad for him. I just went through the interview process. Like this guy was riding for me, whatever. I finally call him back and I'm like, hey, Tom, thanks for what's going on. And he's like, hey, Connor, thanks for calling me back. Give me 1 second. I need to loop someone else in on this call. Like 5 seconds later, some guy comes over the line and he's like, hey, this is Mark from HR. Is this conversation being recorded? And I was like, no. And he's like, we've been made aware of your alias, Connor Mook, on the A New Untold Story podcast. And we'd like to part ways with you immediately. They didn't want to fire me because then they would have owed me like more money or opened themselves up to if I wanted to like fight it.
Yeah.
But we mutually parted ways.
Okay.
And that's how I got.
Which you were in for?
Yes.
Obviously.
I was being a dick.
Yeah.
To these guys at Siegfried. Shout out Siegfried.
Yeah. So do you want to apologize to them?
Siegfried, I'm sorry. But it worked out. So exactly. I'm happy to be here today, but I do apologize to my manager and my guy John, who stuck his neck out for me. And but hey,
damn,
sorry.
So when was that exactly? Last year?
This was like September, October of 2022.
Okay, so recently.
2023. I forget how time works, dude.
So pretty recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 16 months ago. 15 months ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. Damn, so you were just always like walking on the tightrope when it came to that stuff just to get to where you want it to be.
Exactly. Because it always stuck with me. Like if you want to get to that point, you're going to have to work on the side and kind of take some risks.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a big risk because by the time I was at that consulting gig, I was making like well over six figures.
Yeah.
Like I was doing great, and now I'm knocked back down to below my starting salary in accounting.
Yeah.
So it's like I really did want to get here. And I took some gambles getting here.
And has it been what you thought it would be?
Yes. Yes and no. I'll say this. A bad day here is better than any day in accounting. But this job can also beat you up mentally at the same time.
How so?
People are mean. People are mean. And it's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, everyone can comment or say stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I love it. I love every person that watches. I love every person in this building. Like, it's been a dream come true. And I know I just talked a fuck ton. Yeah. So I'm sorry if you didn't catch up with all of it.
No, it was pretty straightforward. Like I said, every kind of place you were, it was just kind of like a slow creep into getting kind of into the comedy scene. I guess Barstool could be seen as that too. It is. It's comedy.
Yeah. I always every move I made had this in mind and had stand-up in mind.
Yeah.
But there's so many comedians out there that are just like, I'm going to do comedy and I'm poor and I have nothing else going for me. It's like, that was never going to be my route. Yeah. If I'm doing this, I'm trying to do this as efficient as I can so I don't become a bitter comic in 10 years that, hates everything. Because there's a lot of those.
Yeah. That's funny because all the guys on the podcast, for the most part, those are the guys who made it, and you hear them and they a lot of them have grinded like that too. Yeah. For sure. But you're not hearing them in their present state being bitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what's interesting about that.
They got that out of the way.
Yeah, and they definitely probably went through it where it was tough and it was a grind. I know it, but
and let me tell you, I've been to the open mics with 3 people. I went out on a Tuesday night and did 3 spots and then got hammered and had to wake up at 8 a.m. for a presentation. And I've been through it as well. I just did it. I think I'm doing it a little bit smarter than a lot of other comics have done it.
Well, it helps having Barstool, I would assume, right?
Of course.
Yeah, yes. Because you all will always have the steady check, and
huge.
That's big. I wondered what do you think? Like, what do you enjoy the most though? Like, what is do you like the stand up more, or do you like the podcast stuff more?
I like the stand up more. I'm better at the stand up. I'm getting more comfortable behind a live mic like this. But there's no comparison between a pop at a stand-up show and a good clip that goes viral. You know what I mean? Yeah. I enjoy this. This I feel comfortable doing this. Yeah. And I feel very comfortable doing stand-up, but stand-up is more rewarding in real time, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. Do you think Sas feels the same way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, because I think he's pretty much. Obviously, does boy dad still, but he's kind of transferred more into stand up.
Sas is it's funny. Me and Sas, we started stand up at the same time. We're both 3 years in right now, but he's headlining. He's doing 45 minutes. I'm doing 15, 20 up top, and he is crushing right now. He's gotten so good, just from all the reps he's been doing. It's really crazy to see because we started touring, around that time, 16 months ago, whatever it was. And we both had no idea what we were doing. Yeah. We're just showing up to Virginia and be like, all right, let's put on a stand-up show. I probably had 7 minutes of dog shit material at that point. He probably had 25 minutes of, loose material, but we were expected to do 15 and 20 minutes and he had to do 45. Yeah. So it's we had to figure it out on the fly. And stand-up's interesting because a lot of guys, you didn't know who Shane Gillis was until he was 10 years in. You know what I mean? Yep. like we are under a microscope. I got Reddit trolls being like, I saw Mook bomb the other night. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of the process. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And is it like, how hard does it get when you have a set and you know you should be working on that, but like, hey, I gotta go edit this podcast? Like the balance there, is that getting to you?
The balance is it's interesting, but again, I'm so grateful for where I'm at. I wouldn't trade that balance for anything. Like, but it does get like, you know, I'm pretty beat up when, you know, on Wednesday I come into the office, I'm posting shorts and reels, then I have to do the yak, then I have to prep for Anus, then we record Anus, I'm doing all the producing, shut down Anus, go to a show, maybe 2 shows that night, and then I get back to my apartment at midnight and I'm just sitting there with a blank timeline, like, oh, time to put together this entire podcast. And I'm like 3 Red Bulls deep, like jonesing out of my mind, like I hope this, you know, I hope everything's good, and I had to get the podcast out by 5 a.m. So it's like, it's a lot, but the balance is worth it for sure.
And you're no stranger to hard work, obviously. Like you said before, you went through work that was equally as busy and maybe hard, but like it was not as rewarding.
Exactly.
So
there was nothing like, you know, there's a couple times in accounting I can recall being like, this is not worth it. And some of them were, you know, the night before we had to like be done our audit, like legitimately being up till 4 a.m. And then my manager, senior manager, who I fucking hate, you know who you are, I had a meeting with him at 8 a.m.
No apologies to him.
No apologies to him. And he was from Ireland.
Oh, no shit.
I love, like, we should have been boys, but he kind of like treated me like an asshole at this point. And it's like, you know, at this point I've been in busy season on this one client for like 2 months. Getting smoked, working late, working Saturdays, working Sundays. So like, it was the night before the audit was due. I was up till 4. We're, you know, checking everything, and then I had to meet with him at 8 a.m. And at 8 a.m., you know, we're working from home because it's like, you know, COVID happened, and I had my hood up. I'm fucking exhausted. You know what I mean? My French press was just finishing. You know, I didn't have my coffee yet, and he like scolded me for having my hood up in my own apartment. After I just worked, you know, a 16-hour day for this dude and woke right back up and was ready to do it again. And that was when I was like, oh, this doesn't matter. Like, they don't give a fuck about me.
Yeah.
And like finishing that audit, and you know, you do the audit for the partners, right? The partners get like the credit at the end of the day. They're the ones that sign off on the opinion. I remember finishing that audit, and the partner didn't even send us an email or like say thank you after like we put in hours. I'm talking like straight up 90-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks, like no joke. And that was when I was like, oh, there's no reward to this job. There's no
laugh, or there's no viral.
Exactly.
Yes.
And now with this, I'm like, I don't care about staying up till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning after a full day of work editing a podcast, because I'm like, I actually love this, and there's a payoff. You know, like I enjoy editing Anus for the people that love Nick and KB. I enjoy cutting up clips that, you know, do well on the internet. There is a reward there for sure.
So what's the next payoff though? Like, because it seems like maybe in past, like you get to a point and you're like, oh, like, do you feel like you chase the next high a lot?
Oh, I definitely have the addictive trait for sure. It runs in my family.
Okay.
But I don't think there's another reward. I enjoy, like, I had a clip go viral 2 days ago, and it's still going viral right now. And like, that's like what I do it for. Like a stand-up bit, dumb bit about Pookie and Jet. I don't know if you know who they are.
I don't think I do.
Shout out Pookie and Jet. Throwaway bit from the Laugh Factory that like wasn't even a great bit, but I was like the first person to talk about it on TikTok. It's almost at like 500,000 views, and there's a war in the comment section. It's like,
really?
That's what I live for now. I live for that.
That gets you going.
Yeah.
Now, do you think you'll ever want to do that? Like completely go independent again? Like, is that like, maybe you'll tour and maybe you'll do stand up solely, or like, cause it does, like there is that. And obviously like you have super freedom, but like, you know, like we said before, it is nice. Like, you know, use an example, like Jim Norton has always had his show, and he does that, or the Bonfire Guys, and like it is nice where there's something is steady where stand up is a little more uncertain, I guess.
Yeah, it's more of a roll of the dice, just being like a touring comic without a weekly income.
Yeah.
I love Barstool. I don't have any intention of like leaving Barstool unless they kick me out, which who knows. But one day I definitely want to, I'm on the road featuring and hosting for SAS. One day I want to be the headliner, for sure. But I'm not going to rush it, Yeah. And I'm even in the past, like since we got to Chicago, my job has changed tremendously.
For the better, or
for the better, yeah. I mean, I'm like the yak is a new thing for me. I'm still adjusting to being on camera every day. Versus like having to show up once a week and like maybe speaking. You know what I mean? So once I get comfortable, I'll do like maybe my own project, like a podcast or a show. But right now, it's Anus is like my full-time, I give everything to that. I'm doing everything for it. Yak every day, and then stand up.
Okay. Yeah. Are you Anus is one time a week?
Twice right now.
Twice a week.
Which is breaking me. Yeah. Talk about the balance. The balance is thrown off right now.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not in Vegas. I was like, honestly, I'm going to chill this week.
Yeah.
Refresh. And
for sure. This is a good week to kind of recharge the batteries a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, that, if that time ever comes, like you'll know it, and I'm sure you'll assess it when it goes.
Yeah, I'm in no rush.
Yeah.
Part of this journey for me, the biggest lesson has been patience. And like, you do hard work, good things will come.
Yeah.
Maybe not right away. It's not like stand up where you get instant gratification, but keep putting in the time and do the right things and be a good person, and hopefully it'll work out.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's something to that for sure.
Yeah.
And how different is the Chicago comedy scene versus Philly?
Night and day.
Really?
Tell
me about it.
Philly is very vulgar.
Yeah.
Very like, you're gay, you're retarded.
Yeah.
I don't know if you bleep that or not. That's just what I'm not saying it. They're saying it.
It's in the stand-up comedy text, so I think it's...
Yeah. Philly is very... And I love those dudes. Some of the funniest people, I think, in the world are just coming up in the Philly scene right now. Shout out to Do-Rag and the Deer Tag. Ryan Foster. There's a ton of just like killers in Philly right now. Naeem Ali, Drew Montana, Mike Rainey, Tim Butterly. So I'm getting plugs out of the way. But
there you go.
The Philly scene is smaller. It's more tight-knit. And it's a different style of comedy than Chicago. Chicago, you still have a bunch of killers here.
Yeah.
Still a bunch of like really good comics, but it's more well-crafted, tighter and better. Like not better, but like more put together jokes than Philly is more like vulgar and like kind of dumb, but you find it very funny. But the Chicago scene is better for stage time. I've done more stand-up in the past 4 months than I have in 2 years.
Just because there's more places to get more stage time?
Yeah. And I'm a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you said it's smaller there though, but is it?
So by the time I got comfortable doing stand-up, I had left Philly. You know what I mean? Like I was doing stand-up in Philly for like a year and a half. Then after I got the Barstool gig, I was commuting from Philly to New York to work at Barstool, and like I couldn't do as much stand-up as I wanted because I was like couch surfing, and like I didn't have like a home base truly.
Yeah.
And then I moved to New York, and that's where I realized how many stand-up comedians there are in New York, and I was still like a nobody.
Yeah.
And I'm still a nobody, but it's like 6 months in New York isn't enough time to like get ingrained in that scene. You need to put in like a year to meet the right people, to get up at the right clubs. In Chicago, I came in here with a little bit of a following. I came in here better at stand-up from like that rotation in New York, and it was much easier for me to like get stage time and people kind of acknowledging that I'm pretty good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever get that itch to chase that dragon, that New York dragon now?
Oh, I want to go back for sure. Yeah.
That's what I wonder too. Like, is that like how's that gonna work? Because that's like obviously like, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just saying, but there might be something to, not taking anything away from Sass at all. He's great, and he's obviously worked his balls off.
Yeah.
But he was there doing it.
Yep.
Right. Like there's might be something to that.
Yeah. It was tough. The hard part for me was like going on the road with Sass, doing like 5 sold out shows in Boston. And then I come back to New York, and on Monday I have a spot in front of 6 people at a bar in Brooklyn, and Sass is at the stand doing 3 spots in front of sold out crowd. So it was like a little bit of a wake up call for me. It made me work harder because I was like, oh, like I need to get there. But you're right, like chasing the dragon, it was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something you could see, like trying to get back over there?
Yeah, I think eventually there, Austin.
Okay. Yeah, because that's obviously exploding.
Austin is, the mothership is, the shows look awesome.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of Philly guys just moved there.
Oh, really?
Matt and Shane, obviously.
Yes.
But then, like, I'm friends with, like, Sean and Lemaire and a few of those dudes.
Are you buddies with Matt and Shane?
No. I've friends, I wouldn't say I'm buddies with them. Shane, I was after Shane. So, like, I started comedy.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, the ghost of Shane Gillis. Like, he's in this room. Like, he did stand up here.
Yeah.
But, I spent a weekend with Shane in Philly. Great guy. Very fun to be in a green room with.
Yeah.
Fucked with Sass the whole time. Lemaire's a character. But like, Lemaire, and you probably don't know, he's a producer on their podcast.
Okay.
He was a guy, when I started stand-up, he hosted all the mics. He was like the king of Philly, like open mics and shows and stuff. So like Lemaire, I go back with a while ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, damn, I'm interested to see it all unfold, man.
Yeah.
It's great having you here, but I understand, at some point you're going to want to chase that dragon, so.
I think, I mean, dude, I love Barstool.
Yeah.
It's always been a dream of mine to work here. So I'm just trying to take it one day at a time, survive in advance kind of thing.
No, that's all you could do.
Yeah.
That's all you could. And then you're, I mean, it's still stage time. It's still, regardless of where it is.
Yeah.
You're still getting better.
For sure. If I didn't have, I have the road too. So like, I'm on the road like at least 2 times a month.
Yeah. I would think I say that, but I don't really know. Like it probably matters where and different crowds, but I don't know.
Yeah. It makes you, because part of it is like making your jokes universal.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I'll do a show with Sass in Dallas, Texas, and they love us. And I come back to Chicago and I do a regular, showcase spot, 10 minutes in front of a lot of tourists or a lot of like Chicago, locals. And it's like, they're not going to like the same things that the Barstool crowd likes. So it's just about making jokes that everyone can relate to, essentially.
Just shaping and molding every time.
Yeah.
All right, then, Mook. Thanks for jumping on, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry if that was a lot of word vomit.
I enjoyed it because obviously you just moved here. I didn't really have a relationship with you before. We did a draft, and I was like, I kind of want to hear what's going on. So
yeah, I know it wasn't the funniest interview ever,
but I like doing pulling back on the curtain and stuff. Like doing with KB and Nick, and it was great. People loved it.
Okay,
and they were like, oh, like this is like this is another side of them because you're not just meatballs.
Yeah,
So no, I enjoyed it. I think people will too. Anything this weekend?
Denver Comedy Works with Sass and Francis. Come out to a show. I think they're all about to be sold out, so get tickets ASAP.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, Mook. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you for having me, Eddie.
Of course. Thanks for doing it, man. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Monday with a draft. It's a Valentine's Day themed one. It was pretty good. Go tune in. See you then.